respiratory problems, including occupational related asthma or other disorders, and contact with skin could cause dermatitis or other skin complaints. Okay, so then we'd move on to our next one, which would be slips, trips and falls. So we could say employees and other people on site. So that might be other contractors, it might be employees working at the courtyard, it could be the general public. Again, could suffer from musculoskeletal injuries. Falls. And then the last one, working with the general public. Sort of if we have a look at how the general public or employees could be harmed, work activities not only put your employees at risk, but they could be putting other people at risk, sort of affected by the activities. So general public could be injured by work activities, including slips, trips and falls. They may be injured by work processes. If they are brought into contact with work processes. Okay, so then we're going to do fairly simple. We're going to evaluate the risk. So these guys are going to be working from ladders. Now, before I talk about control measures, which could be lots of different things, it could be the competency of the staff, the condition of the ladders that they're working from, whether somebody foots the ladder, etc., etc. We need to talk about the risk level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the risk level. Now I like to use shading for mine, so I'm going to put the risk level as medium. Slips, trips and falls I'm also going to put as medium. Working with the general public I am going to put low. And working with hazardous substances including paint I'm going to put low. So for my control measures for working from ladders, so the first thing that we should do when it comes down to risk is see if we can eliminate the risk entirely by using another working another working method. So the working at height regs would basically say something along the lines of can you eliminate working at height entirely? But in this case we can't. So what we need to do is we need to put some control measures in for working at height. So the first thing that we'd maybe look at is the competency of the staff. So we could say something like all staff are competently trained to work at height. We could look at things like the condition of the ladders. So we could say all ladders are checked prior to use, and we could say that ladders are secured or footed by a second person. And we could also say that ladders are only used for short duration. Now there's lots of different alternatives to ladders, but we're just going to use that as a good example. So we could say that after all of our control measures are in place, that the risk comes down to low, and again we can clearly see it's been brought from medium to low. The date of completion will put us today's date, and then we'll move on to the next one. So if we look at hazardous substances for the use of paint, and we look at respiratory sensitizers, so we could put something like appropriate measures to ensure local ventilation is used, to ensure that the respiratory sensitizing properties of the paint don't get on people's lungs, etc. We could also look at the dermatitis, so we could put systems of work ensure that contact with skin is not possible. Use of barrier creams to protect skin, and appropriate PPE to be used. Okay, so I'm going to put the residual risk again as low and copy and paste my date. I then go on to my next one, which is slip, strips and falls. Now, slip, strips and falls might be to a variety of different reasons. If we're doing decorating and using this example, it might be that they're tripping over dust sheets. It's unlikely that they're going to be using portable electrical equipment on this job, so it's unlikely that they'd be tripping over things like wires, etc., like trailing leads, but they might have waste materials which could cause a trip hazard, etc., etc. So what we're going to do is just going to put a couple of control measures in place for slip, strips and falls. So firstly, all staff wear appropriate footwear, which is non-slip. We could go down the training routes, so all staff are trained to ensure they keep a tidy work area and are responsible of their own waste. And we can put dust sheets are secured and fastened down using tape to ensure they do not form a trip hazard. Okay, so I'm going to put our residual risk down to low and put our date of completion as today, and then finally we're just going to move on to the general public. So we would say that to protect the general public and protect the workers, we could say that non-construction employees are not allowed in the work area. We could say something along the lines of that non-construction employees are consulted on hazards before work begins. Appropriate signage is in place, e.g. Working at height, site entrance, etc. We'll put our residual risk down to low again. Copy and paste our date. And there's a couple of things that we need to add in just to make this risk assessment valid. So we need to put a review date. Let's say that this job is going to take us 1 week. So our review date would be the 23rd of 12th 2011, and that's our risk assessment complete.